Okay, so book 2 of The Slave Pimp Return of the Mac. This right here is sleazy. So chapter 1 is pretty much, it's called Captured. It does a recap letting you know who Sleazy and Billy Mack are. Billy Mack, of course, is, he helps free the slaves. Sleazy's his best friend. Sleazy, it gives you more background on Sleazy. His name, he was born named Sylvester. He was not born a slave. He became a slave when they came through and kidnapped and ransacked his town or whatever, just like Billy. And so now he is freeing slaves with Billy Mack. And this one starts off with him getting captured by a New Orleans workhouse. He goes to the workhouse. He meets a guy named Bubba, and they pretty much team up within the first week and in one night they take out the slave owners and free the slaves, and then they make their way to Kansas. So, chapter 2, I'm sorry, excuse the squeaking. I have a dog. Chapter 2 is pretty much them in Kansas plotting their next move and getting their stable up, if you know what I'm saying. They're getting their schmex workers up. So, pretty much it is talking about what their next moves are going to be and what they're doing while they're in Kansas. It starts to get cold, so they decide that they want to go somewhere else. They run across a woman who is not that attractive, but she knows who Max Sleazy is, and she is very, inspired by him and Billy Mack. And so then her name is Harriet, and she decides to give him a couple guns and tells him to go west. So, yes, Harriet Tubman helped Max Sleazy and Billy Mack. So, in chapter 3, it's called No Business Like Hoe Business. And they go to California, into Hangtown. They start to settle down there. And this is when the book kind of becomes like a Western, I would like to say. Because they kept on talking about like these like stagecoach robberies and stuff, I guess. But yeah, so that's chapter, and pretty much kind of tells you that the story, it has this weird breaking of the fourth wall moment, where it tells you that this book is not a love story and not a happy story. So it does talk about how Sleazy met a woman named got a woman named Mary from Harriet, who he thought was beautiful, but by the time that they settle in Hangtown, she goes from the apple of his eye to the best girl in his stable. Okay, chapter 4 is where they go full on Western here. Okay, so Sleazy makes himself a gang. They're called the Goldmouth Gang. They all got gold teeth and everything like that. All right. So Billy Mack is in DC handling things. He got that thing going on with the government and with Mary Todd and everything like that. So he is east while they are west. So Max Sleazy decides that he wants Billy Mack to come west with him. So he sends one of his people, whose name Andrew, they call him Young Mac though. They send Young Mac to go and send a letter to Billy to come west. In the process of that, they also are feuding with a couple of people in town. There's this one guy named Conrad and his barbarians that they're feuding with. So he has this guy named Dirty Mac come in, and Dirty Mac tells Dirty Mac to take them out with no body seeing. Well, in the process of that, Dirty Mac takes out some Mojave Native Americans, which causes some problems. So, Chapter 5, Cowboy, it's called Cowboys, Indians, and Johns. So this is when Young Mac makes it to DC. He ends up he finds Billy Mack. Billy Mack gives him a gold gun, tells him that he's going to follow him back, not immediately, but he's going to follow him back, and then Max Sleazy finds out that the Mojave Indians, or Native Americans, I apologize, are going against are going against the Goldmouth gang because of what Dirty Mac did. So it doesn't fully explain how he does it, but he partners with the chief and gives the chief Dirty Mac for his crimes. Okay. Also in this process, another guy comes in and he pretty much declares that he. Okay, so chapter 6 is called A New Threat. A new guy comes in and he pretty much declares that he's going to be sheriff of Hangtown. And his name is Sheriff White, and he's got a group of dudes, and it's a white man who's just coming in, and he doesn't like that all these black people have taken over the town. So then young Mac, on his way back, he runs into a white woman. Well, this white woman he ends up sleeping with ends up being Sheriff Mac's wife. So, in the process of him, so he decides to bring her back to town so that he can let Sheriff Mac know what he's been doing with his wife and to get the situation handled. So, he tells Mac Sleazy, he introduces him to Mary. Mary even joins the stable. And he drops Mary off at the stable and then goes and they have a good old-fashioned Wild West duel in the town. The dust is first he Pimp smacks him in the bar, and then they go outside and they do the 10 steps. They turn around, there's even dust, and Sheriff White ends up getting shot and dying. So then Sheriff Mac has his people, and they start saying that they are going to hang young Mac for what he did. And this is when Billy Mac pulls up. So then Billy Mac comes and declares that young Mac is now the sheriff of Hangtown. And then they hang Sheriff White's henchmen. So the final chapter, of course, like the last time, it goes into like a BET breakdown of what happens with everybody. So young Mac stays in Hangtown. Mac Sleazy, Bubba, and Billy Mac, they travel for a little bit until they end up in the Sierra Nevadas, and then they settle in a town called Sin City, that they call Sin City, with their women and with some drugs or whatever. And then they're still freeing slaves and everything like that. Well, then in the process of that, they end up white people take the town. It ends up turning into Vegas. And then the ending is kind of sad because Mac Sleazy gets arrested and imprisoned for the rest of his life. And nobody really remembers him. No hoes come to his funeral. All of that. It's real sad. And that is the end of The Slave Pimp 2. All in all, it was fun. It was only 100 pages altogether for both books. I mean, I got to connect with y'all. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. If you want to give me some more books, I think I'm going to start Quan Mills next, because he already is reading the books on live. So, let me know. I'll take any recs in the comments. I also thought about Stuffed, or that one about the girl in the balloon. So, I'll take all your recs. And y'all have a good one. You're welcome. This is the review nobody asked for.